Okay, so when you picture a classic TV sitcom family, what comes to mind? Probably something pretty wholesome, right?
Yeah, usually. You know, the perfect family, perfect house, problems all solved in 22 minutes with a nice lesson.
Exactly, like The Cosby Show or Family Ties. Everything felt very neat, very nice.
But what if a show just threw all of that out the window? Intentionally.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're going deep on Married with Children.
That's right, the show that landed in the 80s and just completely shook up what a TV family and maybe TV comedy itself could be.
Our mission, really, is to unpack how this show, which came from some really unique origins in this kind of rebellious spirit,
Yeah.
how it challenged all those TV norms, somehow connected with audiences by being the ultimate anti-sitcom and, really paved the way for a whole new kind of comedy.
And what's great is we're drawing on insights straight from a reunion special, the actors, the creators talking about it themselves.
So you get the raw, behind-the-scenes story. It's fantastic. Okay, so where did this whole rebellion start? What were the ingredients?
Well, you really have to start with the network, Fox. It launched in '87, and they were billing themselves as a new network that's no network.
Right, the Rebel Network.
Exactly. And they were fighting uphill. I mean, do you remember those campaigns? Can you find your Fox station?
Oh, totally, because it was often stuck way up on some UHF channel, like Channel 30-something.
Yeah, exactly. So they needed something different, something disruptive.
And Married with Children was, well, it was that disruption, wasn't it?
Absolutely. The creators were very open about it. It was conceived as an anti-sitcom, even provocatively anti-Cosby.
I heard a working title was actually Not the Cosbys.
That's the one, which, I mean, talk about a statement of intent, right? It was a direct, almost cynical shot across the bow at those, nice and perfect families everywhere else on TV.
So how did the actual cast feel about stepping into roles that were so, well, frankly, so unlikable on paper?
Oh, their reactions looking back are just gold. Katie Sagal, our Peggy, she flat out said she thought the characters were so mean.
Really?
Yeah, and she was convinced it would get yanked off the air so fast.
Wow.
And Ed O'Neill, Al Bundy himself, he thought the pilot was terrible. His words. Not funny, insulting, gross.
Awful. That's amazing.
But, and this is the key part, he also said that this new network that's no network felt just right up my alley. So there was this weird pull, even then.
That kind of discomfort, though, that awful feeling. It almost makes sense for a show designed to be abrasive, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
So given that initial reaction from the cast, what actually allowed it to stick around? How did it survive?
Well, one of the big insights is that being on this new, barely watched network was actually its secret weapon.
How so?
Because, nobody was really watching Fox at first. The show was basically left alone for about 2 years. No major pressure, no immediate demands to change or soften it.
So it had room to breathe
Yeah.
and find its audience.
Exactly. It could grow organically, and it did. David Garrison, who played Steve Rhodes, mentioned by the second season, a UPS guy recognized him in New York.
That's a great little anecdote. A sign things were bubbling up.
Yeah, a small sign, but telling. The show was finding its people, quietly.
Okay, so Fox provided the rebellious platform. Let's talk about the family itself, the Bundys. Who are these people?
Well, the show itself wasn't subtle. They were called rude, crude, a new kind of sitcom family.
Not just dysfunctional, but hyper dysfunction.
Exaggerated dysfunction is a great way to put it. They were often labeled white trash, and the glue holding them together wasn't love. It was. Well, the creator said it was misery, failure, and laziness.
Wow. But that exaggeration, it served a purpose, didn't it? It wasn't like, say, father knows best.
Right, which apparently made some viewers feel bad because their own lives weren't that perfect.
Yeah, exactly. But Married, it was different. It was one of the first shows, maybe, that just said all the things we think about but we don't want to say.
It was disgusting and crude, but as someone put it in a really great way, it kind of mirrored those weird, odd thoughts everyone has sometimes.
So people watched
Yeah.
and actually felt seen. Like, oh, yeah, my family's kind of like that.
That's exactly what happened for a lot of viewers. It was a relief in a strange way.
And their whole outlook on life was just defiantly cynical.
Totally. The idea was the Bundys felt like society has not been good to them.
So they owed society nothing back.
Pretty much. We don't feel they owe society anything. Their rules didn't apply. Remember their motto?
Oh, yeah. We're Bundys. We hate cops.
Right. It wasn't just a gag line. It was like, these rules are not for us.
That outsider thing is really key. But, okay, they were awful to each other constantly, right?
Yeah,
Always
oh,
antagonistic.
nonstop. They would be antagonists with each other all the time.
But, and this is the twist, if someone from the outside messed with one of them,
Then, yeah, suddenly this gaggle of apes, as one of the writers put it, would come together and kick butt
there was that story about Al finding Kelly's boyfriend cheating on her in a movie theater.
and just beating him up. Yeah, twisted Bundy loyalty at its finest.
Okay, let's really dig into the two central figures here. Al Bundy first.
Ow. Okay. His whole character is built on this foundation of faded glory, isn't it?
Absolutely. High school football star, king of the school, all city back in '66.
4 touchdowns in one game. Polkai legend.
Polka, exactly. A little college ball, maybe a brief shot with the Steelers in '69.
And then the crash.
Shoe store, marriage, children, the end. That line just sums up his entire tragedy.
And that shoe store job, his present reality. He hated it.
There was that running gag about it being the lowest a man can have, according to some game show poll.
Yeah, and his comments about customers, I should have been easing them into the box or wanting more gas so we could say things behind their back, just pure contempt.
But he did have one happy place, right? His throne.
Ah, yes. The toilet, his inner sanctum. There's that whole classic episode about him getting a new one. It was sacred ground.
And you can't talk about Al without talking about Ed O'Neill's physical comedy. It was incredible.
Oh, brilliant. Getting electrocuted by Christmas lights.
Or the roof leaking onto the pan on his head and then getting electrocuted.
He just sold that physical misery perfectly.
Beyond the slapstick, though, Al had this whole cynical philosophy, the world according to Al, especially about women and sex.
Oh, yeah. Some of those lines were memorable.
Like, somebody told women they should start enjoying sex too. That was the beginning of the end. Now they like it, but it's worked for us.
Wow, yeah. Or that women need men because we can do the job and you can't take a battery home to meet your mother.
I mean, what does that tell you
Yeah.
about the show's willingness to just go there?
It just shows how committed they were to being the anti-sitcom. Al's views were supposed to be offensive, maybe tap into some repressed, grumpy male thing.
His motto really said it all, didn't it? If your life was any easier, you'd be in an urn in the garage.
Just profound mediocrity. Almost something to aspire to in his world.
Okay, let's pivot to Peggy. His perfect counterpart. She completely rewrote the TV housewife role.
Totally. She was described as much younger than Al, sort of the girl who rode on the back of a motorcycle, maybe smoked cigarettes too young, drawn to bad boys.
And she had that sharp, cynical edge, too. She could sing in them right back.
And what's really interesting is how much Katie Sagal brought to that. The character was written, apparently, as more of a frumpy couch potato.
But Seagal came in.
She wore tight clothes and dolled her up a little bit right from the audition. And that signature walk, that came from the high-heeled Fredericks of Hollywood mules she wore.
And she always carried herself like she thought she was hot. That confidence was key.
Absolutely. And then her approach to domestic life. Complete rebellion.
She doesn't cook, clean, sew, vacuum, iron, and paint.
Right.
Zero traditional housework.
Yeah.
Her version was laying on the couch and asking if somebody else would do it.
Which led directly to Al's constant state of near starvation.
Exactly. And her mothering, also unconventional.
More like a friend. Yeah, an I'm your friend kind of mother. She deflected as much responsibility as she possibly could, didn't really give, real advice that you could actually take with you.
But the sources say the kids still felt she was there for them.
Apparently so. They always knew she was there for them. And her unique brand of advice, like telling Kelly to use a boy's secret dreams and hopes to crush him, somehow it landed for them.
Okay. And the show's take on their sex life.
Mm-hmm.
That felt groundbreaking for the time.
It really was. Addressing the boredom that can set in, how it can become a job, that was pretty raw for network TV then.
Peggy always wanting it, begging and pleading.
While Al's doing everything to avoid it, comparing it to taking out the garbage.
Yet she accepts his little problem, as the show put it. Never really threatens to leave.
That unvarnished reality, that awkwardness, you just didn't see that anywhere else.
Okay, let's talk about the kids, Bud and Kelly. Their characters changed quite a bit too, didn't they?
They really evolved. Kelly, for instance, Christina Applegate, said the character wasn't defined at the very beginning.
So she brought a lot to it.
Yeah, she leaned into those 80s rock video looks, the big hair, the tight clothes. That became Kelly's signature style.
And here's something I found really interesting. The idea that Applegate played her as not stupid, but different.
Right. thinking outside the box or thinking in a different way. That's a great insight.
You see it in the lines like, brains and decent knockers can go hand in hand to march us proudly into the 19th century.
Exactly. It's dumb, but there's a weird logic to it. And yeah, her wardrobe definitely got skimpier and tighter over the years.
Okay, and Bud, David Faustino.
Bud was positioned as the smart one in the family, relatively speaking anyway. The shrewdest of the Bundys.
And they actually wrote his real life into the show.
Yeah, things like his struggles with zits, general puberty, teenager stuff. That awkwardness became part of Bud's character arc, which felt really authentic.
With Master B. We have to mention Grandmaster B.
Oh, absolutely. His white rapper alter ego. That came about because Faustino himself was really into hip-hop.
So the writers just ran with it. That's cool.
Yeah. And somehow, despite the awkwardness and the rapping, Bud actually had surprising success with the greatest looking girls week to week.
The Bundy charm, maybe?
Right.
Or lack thereof.
Who knows? But looking at Bud and Kelly together, their sibling bond was described as really strong.
Like a pulley system.
Yeah, where they'd support each other even while they were constantly trying to kick each other's asses.
Again, that weird Bundy loyalty underneath the insults.
Exactly. It runs through the whole family.
So when you look back at the show overall, what really stands out, for the cast, it seems like one word kept coming up. Laughter.
Yeah, they talked about constant belly laughs on set, just pure fun.
And the physical comedy was a huge part of that. We mentioned Al, but think about the satellite dish tipping over.
Or the crazy use of dummies for stunts.
Right.
Yeah.
And specific episodes, like the cabin trip where all three women are synchronized.
Oh, God, that one. Hilariously uncomfortable. Or the Killing Santa Christmas episode at the mall. Just pure chaos.
And a really crucial point the creators and cast made was about the show's purpose. Or lack thereof, maybe.
Right. Unlike almost every other sitcom, there was explicitly no lesson to learn at the end.
It was just entertainment.
Purely. A show where you just sat down and for a half an hour you didn't have to learn anything, you just relax. They certainly didn't go into it to change anything.
But it did change things, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What's its legacy?
Huge. It ran for 11 years, became a massive part of pop culture, a huge part of our lives, and definitely things changed on television because of it.
It opened doors.
Yeah, it led the way. It created a lot more room for our kind of comedy that could make jokes about all the real stuff that people go through, the messy stuff, without needing that neat little bow at the end.
And it's nice to hear that behind the scenes, despite playing this monstrous family, the cast themselves had a really strong bond.
Very family-like, they said. There was that sweet story of Katie Sagal inviting David Faustino, who was only 12, to a party.
That shows a genuine connection, a real warmth offsetting the on-screen coldness.
Definitely. A lovely contrast.
So, to wrap up, Married with Children. It just smashed the sitcom mold, gave us this raw, rude, but somehow relatable, dysfunctional family. It really did change the TV comedy landscape forever. It was the anti-sitcom that hit a nerve.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe. Since Married, with Children deliberately avoided lessons, embraced being crude and anti-establishment, did its unfiltered take on real stuff, all the absurdity, actually offer more genuine insight into life than those shows trying hard to be uplifting?
Or was its real genius just giving people a half-hour escape, pure, unapologetic laughter, no strings attached? Something to think about.